If you have said to yourself, I should write that, or if someone has said to you, you should write that, then I'm talking to you because you need to write. And that's why you're tuned in to yWrite. Hi, welcome to yWrite. I'm your host, Angela Grout, and thanks for joining for another episode of yWrite, where we meet authors, find out why they're writing and what they're writing in order to not only promote them, but also promote you to start writing. Because you have that story inside of you, and how are you going to write it? That's up to you, but hopefully every guest that's been on this show is going to inspire you in a way to find your path to share your story. So today I have a real live leprechaun in studio. He's going to bring good fortune to everybody who's watching. He's an author and a poet and an inspirational coach, and he guides himself and others to live life by following God's will. He is a former counselor at the Suffield Academy, and he was forced into retirement after a horrific shooting left him paralyzed. We are going to meet Patrick Shanahan in a minute because he is just a beautiful soul. He is grateful for his Catholic faith. He's always willing to help another and encourage their journey. I've known him for about 22 years now, and he has a YouTube channel which has a book trailer on it for his books, so we're going to talk to him a little bit about that, and we're going to learn all about his books that he has, a children's book, a poetry book, and the book called They Call Me Boston. So let's meet Patrick Shanahan, who is known as PJ the Leprechaun, which is his children's book, and we want to welcome him to the show and say thank you so much for coming in.
Morning blessings.
Hi, PJ. How are you?
Good to see you again.
It's so nice that you've come in studio, that we can talk about your books. I remember the first time I met you. You know, my daughter and your niece are best friends, which is great. Yeah. And, found out you were an author. And I was like, oh, right there sparks my attention. And, right away you shared with me your book, The Bird Song. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing.
Back, so.
I mean, so I just said, I knew I was going to have you on the show when I started this show years ago. I said,
oh, you did?
Yes, I did. You're
See
on my
how
you're
God
on my
works
list.
Already.
You're on my
right.
list. And PJ does this great thing on Facebook. He does morning blessings. And, I follow you, I stalk you, but about a couple weeks ago you had a beautiful morning blessing that you did, and God woke me and said, you haven't had him on the show yet, you got to call him. So can you tell us a little bit about how you started writing your morning blessings?
My morning blessings for Facebook was my way of sharing. I write poetry for friends and family, for births and deaths and weddings, but those are isolated, incidents, not isolated, but
right.
It's a once a year on a birth or whatever it may be.
Well, you're a writer at heart.
And I'm a writer, and I needed to share more. I needed to share daily. So I started writing morning blessings, and whether it's in a poem or a video that I share, that I post first thing in the morning, that people get to view on their own time. Yeah. Hopefully they get to see it in the morning because it is a morning blessing. But if they see it at night or whenever they see it, I hope they're blessed from what I write and what I share.
You were a school counselor for years.
Obviously, my vocation.
Your vocation, thank you. And it's still your vocation.
It is. I still help and
counsel. So I said retired, but just retired from Suffield Academy.
Yeah, from Suffield
Academy.
But,
you definitely have a born vocation to counsel and guide people and encourage people.
All glory to God on that. He does the heavy work.
I want to know how you've stayed so positive through the trauma that happened in your life. Because, we're going back 5 years ago.
Well, you know that I was shot in the back on vacation, attempted robbery, unsolved crime, and it's a closed case.
Yeah.
But I forgave the shooter, and I don't need to relive the whole scenario. Happened? But it was a beautiful summer night on Cape Cod in 2010. I just fed my whole family dinner, and I went out to have a cigar and take a walk. And that was the last walk in my life. But I'm blessed to be here today. That was 2010, July 16th, when I was lying on the sidewalk thinking I was going to die. I was in mid-gratitude prayer with Jesus, our Lord. and just thanking him for the life I lived, thinking it was going to be my last night.
Right.
And literally, like you and I are talking, Jesus stopped me mid-prayer and said, keep breathing. Help is on the way. Raise your left hand. I was laying face first. I didn't know I was instantly paralyzed, but I knew I couldn't roll over or couldn't sit up. But I could, when Jesus told me to raise my left hand, and I can hear cars driving. I was on a sidewalk in a main
and the people, or the
Barnstable
person who
Road.
shot you left.
They left. It's unsolved. They never caught the guys. But cars were driving. I can hear them coming. So as the cars were getting closer, Jesus told me to raise my left hand. Laying on a sidewalk, I was able to raise my left hand. 8 cars or so drove by me. And then finally, my angel, Adam, the first male.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
How significant is that?
Very.
His name was Adam. He pulled over, and he was the first person that I told that I got shot in the back. And he just thought I tripped and fell.
Yeah.
And when he got out of the car, so he was the one that called 911 to really save my life. But you asked me how I stay positive.
Yes.
So when I was in the hospital, critical care, still not knowing if I was going to live or die, the surgeon came in after major surgery and told me, and my whole family was in the room with me, and he told me that we have, the kind of the good news, bad news scenario, and he said that you're going to live, but you'll be paralyzed for life. I heard I'm going to live. My family, my ex-wife, little sister, they all heard I'm going to be paralyzed for life. And when they started freaking out and hyperventilating, and what about this? He's a counselor, he's a ski coach, he's a golf coach. And I had to ask them all to leave the room because what I heard was I'm going to live. Yeah. And I wanted to focus on that. And I was so grateful. And the next question was, how am I going to live?
Yeah. Oh.
What can I do instead of what can I not do?
And
that's been the focus. That's how what keeps me positive every day.
That's the counselor and advisor in you that you would say to another person, like, okay, adjust your situation and figure out how you're going to live.
Mm-hmm. And that was 2010, and I was a counselor from 2000 was my first counseling job. So I had a good 10 years of counseling dyslexic children, kids with many different abilities. Yeah. I don't call them disabilities. Yeah. They're different abilities of learning and living. Yeah. And so I had 10 good solid years of counseling many different kids from different ages.
Wow.
And when I was shot in 2010, I was working with high school students, very affluent, privileged.
Yeah, Suffield Academy, which is a
private school. So it was a neat dynamic for me because when I got out of the hospital, paralyzed, I moved back home, which was on campus of Suffield Academy.
Yeah.
And I had a big turtle shell, is what I called it, for my spinal fusion. And I was like, if I could be on campus and wheeling around, then these students, I didn't even have to have a counseling session. Just by me being out and smiling and saying, good morning, have a good day, good luck with your soccer game or whatever it may be, that was a positive transformation.
Yeah, still being PJ.
Still being me. Many students used to say the only thing that's different, he's a little shorter and he's on wheels.
Yeah, I mean, you still golf, you still travel. Yeah. I mean, you've adjusted and adapted to...
Back to the mentality and keeping it positive. What can I do?
Yeah.
Not what can, And then I had a lot of, I don't know if you knew this, I had a lot of pressure on me because when I was at Spalding Rehab, amazing facility, family and friends made shirts, hats, bracelets, always positive, always PJ.
Always
so people were walking around with hats and shirts and bracelets, always positive, always PJ. So I had to be positive. I couldn't.
Well, and now you are like a lucky, PJ the Leprechaun.
PJ the Leprechaun.
Let's jump right into your books. So
going back to Suffield Academy.
Yeah, because
the bird song.
Yeah.
I always wrote poetry for many years, and like I said, whether it was for someone's, little baby that was just born.
Sending
for a friend who died. Basically, how it began sharing my poetry is one year I had about 8 weddings to go to. And the first 2 weddings, like normal, you'd write a check, you give them a check, put it in a little wedding card, go to the wedding, have a good time. And one of the couples, I asked them, like, out of curiosity, do you guys even, like, I gave you $200. Do you have any idea where you spent it?
Yeah.
And everybody, no, we went on honeymoon. It was so insignificant, even though it was helping a couple have a good honeymoon or whatever they were doing. I wanted it to be more personal. I wanted me to share a gift with them that would last through their wedding. Not their wedding, their marriage.
I mean,
eternal blessing.
This is a common chord we share because I do. I
decided, each wedding I went to, I knew about the couple.
Yeah.
So I would write a poem. I put it on a nice little piece of paper, buy a $10 frame, maybe a $12 frame if I can splurge with it.
That's a lot because I'd go to the dollar store.
Either way, I'd get a nice frame and I would print it, and these couples have the wedding poem in their living room or in their bedroom, and they, the friends of mine that are still married, God bless them, they still, when I go to visit their home, my poem's up there, and they get to read it on their anniversaries or when they're in an argument, they get to go to the poem on the wall, just.
Yeah, no,
So, anyways, that's how I started writing poetry, and not started writing, but how I started sharing it. And then I was writing when my second daughter, God bless her, Rowan O'Connor Shanahan, when she was born, I was writing poetry as if they were her words. Because I took time off from school. I took 6 months off when she was born. I didn't want to miss a day with her. So I had a whole journal full of poems as if they were her words.
I love
and I knew this is when I was still able-bodied. I'm still able, but before the paralysis. I had these poems because she was born in 2005.
Okay. So
my game plan was to compile all the poetry and then give them to her when she was maybe 5 years old or so. And say, this is what you were trying to say to your dad.
Yeah.
So I knew one of the poems, and one of my dreams was to turn one of my poems into a children's book.
Yeah.
Therefore, I can share it with many other families and parents and stuff. Hence, the bird song. So I picked this poem that I wrote when Rowan was 6, maybe 8 months old or so. We were laying on a bed. Sun was going down. Beautiful summer night. I had an old teddy bear where you would pull the string and it would sing a song.
Ah.
And it was only singing one song. We just kept pulling the string and listening to it.
When kids like it, you just keep going.
Correct. The blue jay landed on the windowsill, and the words that came to me as Rowan pushed the teddy bear aside was the bird song.
Yeah.
Oh, please don't get me wrong, for I love all the teddy bear songs, but as the day grows on, there's only one favorite song. It comes not from within one pull of a teddy bear string, but the feathers on the sill that love to sing. And that's the bird song. But I knew the poem was going to make a great children's book, but I can't draw.
Well,
I was in my leadership class at Suffield Academy presenting a little series on following your dreams, how to pursue them. And I shared as a leadership coach always from my own experience, and one of my own roadblocks was I want to publish a children's book, but you got to have good illustrations. I can't draw. Do I give up on my dream? And that was the class discussion. Well, after class, this girl, who's the picture's on the back of the bird song book, Cheryl Quo. God bless Cheryl, a very Christian girl.
Look at this.
She came up to me after class. They called me Shanny. She says, Shanny, I'm always drawing, I'm always doodling in your class. I thought it was a confession. I said, Cheryl, you're an A student. I don't care what you're doing in my class. She goes, no, what I'm getting at is maybe I can do the illustrations for you.
I mean,
and that was end of spring. Another week later, we were all going on summer break. And the bird song, that's PJ the Leprechaun. Yeah. This one is my favorite illustration. And her favorite medium to draw is colored pencils.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that leadership class, and I said, well, we'll discuss this. You know, I'd like to see more of your illustrations. Unfortunately, I got shot a couple weeks later on summer break. She was in Taiwan, and when I was at Spalding Rehab, this is the Christian heart in her, she was sending me illustrations. She knew my vision for the book. She knew about Rowan. She knew about the teddy bear. She had the poem.
I mean, right there gives you inspiration
and
while
I
you're
already
doing your
told her,
rehab.
I said, you are the artist. I'm the poet. You just, I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
You tap into your creativity. And she was sending me illustrations. Fast forward, when I got out of the rehab and I was back at Suffolk Academy, we published the book. So it took us about a year to put it together in a little board book.
And it's so nice, like, to know that this
But
was even a project that you worked on at that time.
The beautiful thing is, it was a dream of mine. She didn't even dream that
She answered
far.
your call.
All of her illustrations and drawings were hidden in a journal. She wasn't confident enough to share with anybody else. She was just, that was her way.
Yeah.
It was her therapy.
Yeah.
And so I go into first grade, second grade classrooms with extra copies of the book. I give them out for free. I sign them. But I share that it was a teacher and a student. A collaborative dream that came true.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing is Cheryl used just that simple book to get into college. It was part of her portfolio. She took
perfect.
drawing and a little confidence of a little children's book to become a graphic designer. Got her master's degree, and now she's got her own family and her own little child.
That's
and
amazing.
We're on the 5th edition of the Birdsong.
Wow.
She always wanted to change her profile on the back, her bio.
Okay.
As she went to college.
Right, to
or
show
she
you
went,
where,
first picture in her little bio was about graduating from high school. And then it was college. And then it was graduate.
Want to have all these different copies of it.
She wanted different pictures on the back. It still got the same picture of me with the big red beard and the little red hat, but she wanted to update her picture and stuff.
So
the
did
bird
she
song,
do the illustrations
no,
for
the
PJ?
bird song I give out.
Yeah.
It's not even sold in stores.
Yes.
I get copies from the
you
publisher
have to meet
in
you
Taiwan.
live in person.
Correct. The second book, PJ the Leprechaun, why I wrote it was I'm an Irish guy. My favorite holiday, my favorite
You don't look
saint,
Irish
Saint
at
Patrick.
all. With the name like
John
Patrick Shanahan.
Exactly.
red
St. Patrick's
hair, red
Patrick's
beard.
my favorite saint. And I always attend the St. Patrick's Day parade in my hometown of Hoyoke, which we claim is the best parade.
Yeah, it is.
It
is. I've attended
but
with
one
your
year
family.
I went to 4 different St. Patrick's parades, and there were many cultures celebrating along the parade route. And I turned into a little reporter, and I just started asking, why are you here celebrating? To this Mexican
I was going to say, not an Irishman.
Correct. And they were like, oh, we love a parade. It's just a big party, and we love celebrating. And then I even found some Irish people, and I asked them, why are you here? Oh, we're celebrating St. Patrick. We love it. I go, but do you know anything about St. Patrick? The significance of March 17th. And, 9 out of 10 people I interviewed didn't really know.
Right. No, it's just a
what
big,
happened
big day
on March
to celebrate.
17th. It was just a big party. So I went to Barnes & Noble, and I researched, and I tried to find some fun books that taught. Couldn't find any. So I wrote my own.
That's one of the big reasons why we write. We write the book we want to read.
I investigated, and I did the research of all the details of Patrick's journey to becoming a saint.
Yeah.
And on March 17th, I'll give it away, but it's better if you read the book, PJ the Leprechaun, even parents and grandparents.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a children's book.
It's a children's book.
It's a graphic novel.
Correct. Parents and grandparents that have read it with their kids, and the kids can read it. It's not that long. They learn all the facts of St. Patrick.
You come to really know who he is.
By the end of the book, they know what March 17th, the significance is all about.
I love that.
So And that's been the gift of being a true Irishman, my favorite saint, but wanting people to know more. So part of writing is to educate others, to counsel, to inspire, so they really know what they're celebrating about.
You're inspiring me.
The Catholic faith to me is my life, So it was another way of sharing more about the saints.
I have very close relationships with a lot of the saints. I mean, St. Teresa's patron saint of Flores, so I've always been felt very close with her. I know that you're I'm going to say a fan, but a fan of this Shrine of Divine Mercy in Stockbridge, and that Sister Maria Faustina and
Saint
Faustina.
Correct.
And you're inspiring me because I would love to tell people more about her and even Sister Esperanza. And I've started writing little stories about them, and you're inspiring me now because they are important stories to tell, not just to know who these people were when they lived, regardless if that they were Catholic and became saints, but they were people who made a difference in the world, and not only when they were living, but even after they've passed. So
I mean, the beautiful thing about St. Patrick is he was 14 years old and he was kidnapped from England, brought to Ireland, sold as a slave, and worked as a slave on a pig farm. I mean, it's like nobody knew what he went through.
Yeah, they're like, oh, he just drove the snakes out of Ireland.
Become a saint.
Yeah.
And the whole driving the snakes out, snakes were metaphorical for the pagans.
Right.
And, I mean, it was an amazing story the more that I learned about it. I'm like, people need to know.
No, they do need to know.
The facts
of
why they're really celebrating St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, I mean, even the facts of
and
why
just
we celebrate
carrying
PJ
his
the
name
Leprechaun.
and my parents' name. So PJ is my nickname for Patrick John, and I wrote it, PJ the Leprechaun is this little mischievous. So even the little leprechaun definitely has some of my personalities in it.
Well, because the leprechauns are that mischievous and silly.
Yeah, they get a bad rap out there. So this PJ is really the voice of God, hearing the voice of God and sharing it and helping Patrick, become free. But for PJ the Leprechaun, I used Christian Faith Publishing.
Nice.
And they illustrated. They hired an illustrator for me. And I love the work that they did. So, So working with that illustrator, was it all like through email and things? Yeah, it was all through email.
So he would draw it and show, and you'd approve it?
Correct. I would approve. There was a lot of editing process.
How did you get involved with the Christian Faith Publishing Company?
I just thought because
of the story, the
story
whole
itself,
genre.
I figured that would be the best publisher and I felt confident working with them, knowing that they were a Christian-based publishing company. So
did you solicit them and email them and say, this is the book that I have, this is a little bit about what it's about, or would you be interested in it?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was a process.
Cold call? Like
it
cold
was an
submission?
investment.
Yeah.
Where I had to, make some payments.
Yeah.
But they handle the publication. They handle the distribution.
That's huge.
Which is through Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And it's been in some physical, like, claim to fame, PJ the Leprechaun is in the Bible section at Barnes & Noble at the Holyoke, Massachusetts store,
a good claim to fame, for sure.
So when I first wheeled in and saw it's in the children's Bible sections, I just, all glory to God, I'm just, I'm just following.
I love that, you inspire people, and you've coached and guided people to follow their passion and, unapologetically. Because like you were saying, when Cheryl...
I have to apologize sometimes. I'm a little out there.
Here I think about Cheryl, the illustrator for the bird song, and here she's, sketching in her little book, and then she hears an invitation to help a friend and do illustrations, but here, she's hiding what she's doing. She doesn't want anyone to know. She's not confident enough in it, and you've given her that confidence. And, I mean, that makes you, definitely a great coach and counselor, but even, just as being a friend, being a child of God, and being a survivor, and just living life to its fullest, like you...
Loving life.
That's... loving life. Yeah. And, just embracing who you are, who you've become, and sharing. You know, you wrote They Call Me Boston.
They Call Me Boston, which is my memoir.
Yes.
I didn't start writing it until I found out that the shooting case was closed and an unsolved crime. The detective was keeping in touch with me along the way, but let's say maybe 7, 8 years after the shooting. 8 years is the cutoff.
Yep.
If they don't catch, you know, and it becomes
I think
a
it's
closed
longer
case.
now.
Whatever it may be, they called me and said, by the way, we're sorry we didn't catch him. It's an unsolved crime. And I said, look, I forgave that guy that night like Jesus taught me. Yeah. When I thought I was dying and I was having that conversation with Jesus, I said, look, I forgive the guy. Yeah. For he knew not what he was doing, as Jesus mentioned from the cross.
He didn't shoot
Forgive
you
them,
to
Lord,
intend to
for they know
paralyze
not
you.
what they do. Because if he gave me another minute or two, I probably would have been ordering a pizza and a pitcher of beer for the guys. Like I said, I didn't know what he was really looking for, but he didn't give me the chance. When I was running away, he shot me with a .38 in the back. So, but when it became a closed case, I knew that people needed to hear the story. And it wasn't just like I got to share the story of how I got shot. I wanted to share the story of how I lived after tragedy, how I loved life every day after tragedy. But I also wanted people to know the resilience of this amazing vessel, our bodies.
Oh, our bodies are amazing.
Are just is a miracle in itself. Yeah. So I was able to share that in the book. And I was able to...
just thinking, like, you were just saying, like, how you tell everyone to love life, and you give out these stickers to remind people, always love life.
So the memoir is about a story of, it's about love and life before the shooting. Yeah. Completing bucket lists. Yeah. So a full life by the age, I was 42 when I got shot. That's why I was thanking God, like, all right, I've had an amazing life. I'm good. He said, no, we got more work for you to do. So it's been a journey of, but really I wrote the book out of forgiveness for the man who shot me, hoping that one day the book will end up in his hands if he's still alive. Yeah. I wanted him to know who he really shot. I wanted him to know there's forgiveness for him. There's divine mercy. Yeah. For him.
And for you to stay, especially because it's a closed case and unsolved, like for you to not be angry and to just accept the unacceptable here, it's given you a good life. Because some people, I think, hold on to that anger and, the why me situation that it's...
Interesting. I work with a lot of students in my hometown of Hoyle, and a lot of them are gangbangers. They have that mentality. Yeah. They leave their house with revenge and hatred in their heart. And here comes the happy-go-lucky PJ, the counselor, in a wheelchair, a shooting victim who's preaching forgiveness, love and life every day. And I don't have to say anything. They're like, what? What are you laughing and smiling about? And then it opens the door for me to share forgiveness freeze. Yeah. You're coming at me with hatred over some kid who, said something that you don't like, and you're ready to load up your gun and fire off. Instead, lead into a prayer for that person, because you don't know what they're going through. All of us have some sort of struggle we're fighting. Some consider it their own little personal war. Yeah. So let's help each other find the peace within each other. Let's disarm our thoughts and our mind.
I breathe
and embrace each other.
You just, I want to inhale all your words and just bring them into my soul, because it's just so inspiring.
Forgiveness frees. Jesus taught us. Yeah. Forgive them, for they know not what they do.
You do a good job marketing your books, having your book signings, going into schools, handing out bookmarks that, number one, this is impressive on the back.
All
the links.
I was always handing out.
And giving out poetry that you've written.
Yeah. So let me share that. Instead of pure joy.
Yeah, well, yes, because this is
the bookmark. That
being an author and trying to find
success.
This
is another story. My first published piece of poetry came from a dyslexic kid. Instead of handing out a diploma at Curtis Blake Day School, I wrote a version of success, my own personal version of success. I put it in a bookmark because they were all dyslexic kids graduating.
Yeah.
I gave them all bookmarks. And success, I'll read it. Success sleeps within the heart. Each kind and noble act you perform gently arouses success from her sleep. She will awake within your soul. Your entire being will reveal this awakening to the world. Each mindful step you take throughout your day breeds a gap between fantasy and reality. Continue on your journey with strong faith in yourself. Allow success to rest, but awaken every conscious breath you take.
That's beautiful.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Thank you for sharing your journey of being an author, of being a pure example of love and God's gift to share, how to forgive, how to tell your story, how to live authentically. We're going to sit and go have a cup of coffee one day and really talk and share even more stories and see what your next story is to come on. Again, this is Patrick Shanahan. I know the bird sign I have to meet you in person to get, but they call me Boston and PJ the Leprechaun. Where can they find these books? They are available on
Barnes & Noble and Amazon.
Okay, so they can go right there.
Right there, Barnes & Noble.
Under Patrick Shanahan or PJ Shanahan?
Under Patrick Shanahan.
All right, so Patrick Shanahan.
They called me Boston, and PJ the Leprechaun are available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon.
And can we tell the audience they can find you on Facebook?
Yes, Patrick Shanahan on Facebook. You'll see a picture of me standing up in my Paragolf machine.
Yeah.
Because there's other Patrick Shanahans on there.
Okay.
So friend me.
Yeah.
And we're already friends.
You are friends. So. Friend him, listen to his morning blessings. It's going to,
God bless you. Keep on loving life.
Oh, thank you so much.
Amen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you, my audience, and thanks Studio 954 for making this show possible. And before we go today, I'm going to give you a little writing prompt. So when the show is over, set your timer for about 5 minutes and, just start pick up your pen and just start writing because, you have that story inside of you. And one of the things that we talked today with Patrick Shanahan about is, not being angry, and being forgiving for things that happen in your life, and whether whatever your religion is, whatever your beliefs are, to actually sit down and maybe write down something that maybe you have been angry about, and then write down how you can turn that anger into something to be grateful for. Forgive the person or the event that made you angry. And write a letter of forgiveness to that, because right there is going to be a healing for you, and it may be part of your story and your memoir you'll write one day to inspire others. So thank you so much for tuning into yWrite, and I will see you next episode. Have a nice day.